a better Nigeria? Is it a myth, or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only drive to be an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Reju.
Hi, this is Answers with Dr. Reju. My name is Obi, and with me in the studio is Dr. Reju.
Thank you, Obi.
Always nice to have you here. And we have Isaac.
Thank you, Obi.
And we have Matthew.
Thanks.
The Matthew of the back room is now Matthew of the front room. Yeah, we've been having a fantastic time delving into issues of education. But before we get back there, we need to talk about a burning issue in the city of Jos right now that has to do with the traffic conditions. Please, Dr. Reju.
All right. Thank you, Obi. It's about Yakubu Gowon Road. Mm-hmm. The road has just been, that is being constructed from the overhead bridge, makes the city look really beautiful. Yeah. But there are some portions of that road that are actually death traps. In fact, from my information that's available to me, I've heard that some people have actually died at that junction. The roundabout, especially the one by the Poly junction.
All right.
There is no time I drive past that road, because I normally pass that road very early in the morning. There's always an accident there. Because if you are driving on that road, and you are going, because the road is now very smooth, normally maybe you might be going on a very, good speed, you are driving straight to that roundabout. In fact, this morning, there was a car crash there. In fact, the story I heard was that somebody died there maybe a few weeks ago who was going to get married, soon. So that road, the construction is defective, the roundabout is not properly placed, and the powers that be, the relevant authorities should do something about this. In fact, most of the roundabouts on that road are wrong. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but by design, there's something that is really defective about it. It's claiming lives, it's going to claim more and there are even no signs to even warn you that you are approaching that roundabout. So it's very, very important that it's urgent. It's a burning issue that has to be dealt with, and the authorities should call PW, to address this as at yesterday. This is really, really very urgent. I drive past that road every day, and I know there is no time I drive past. Like I said, there is always an accident there. So that has to be dealt with utmost urgency.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, there is also this beautiful road that links Murtala Mohammed Way opposite Phototech Junction.
Opposite Phototech.
Yeah. Where you have the show and
the whole idea is beautiful. But the way we're constructing this kind of roads, the designs are defective. There is a big gully there.
There's a big gully right there.
There's no way you see that when it's dark. There's no, no street lights, no road signs, no warnings. And while we construct these roads, we shouldn't always make our good turn out evil. So please, the relevant authorities should actually address this. PW is, getting all these kind of jobs, but they should do the right thing.
Fantastic.
They should do the right thing. I think this program owe it to the society to alert all those concerned to make sure this is dealt with.
And this is our way of being socially responsible.
Absolutely.
To be able to call authorities, to be able to call keen-eyed individuals to do something about it. Thank you, Dr. Reju, for pointing that out.
Thank you.
All right. Let me just start by asking Dr. Reju this question. Still keeping your thoughts on philosophy of education, how robust it needs to be.
Yeah.
What, therefore, should be the pin that sort of combines what we called cultural education, societal education, right? And then the formal classroom education. How do we put all of them together?
Yeah, when we talk about the philosophy that drives education, is a way of trying to explain or describe, exactly, for you to be able to define, a society to be able to define what do we want to achieve, right? What kind of individuals, what kind of citizenry do we want to have? And why asking that also, that question must be also a response to what direction do we want our society to go? If we want to go, maybe a society wants to focus, for instance, on industrialization or technological, advancement and development and sustenance, then that will now translate into the brand of education that we want to have. That's the reason why I said last week that it seems as if we don't have any philosophy at all. So things are just going, haywire. Because there's a way that the university system shouldn't, it shouldn't be. The last time I saw a picture of University of Jos where, students sat on the floor, I had to send personal texts to University of Jos students that I know that is this true or is it a Photoshop? And all of them, without exception, said it's true. In fact, some who are alumni, they said it was even worse in their own time. So because there is no way a student learning in that kind of environment, that student hitting the streets, being integrated back to society, is not a value added, but it's a weight. It becomes a problem to society. It sort of devalues society. A student who is supposed to be a graduate of a university, has gone through university, but having been tutored in that kind of environment, when it comes to society and get integrated, society loses value. It loses value. So that's the reason why. And you know that because you want me to link that up with cultural, that guy is going to be a father, right? What kind of family environment is he going to create? He's going to be a mother, he's going to be a wife to somebody, husband to somebody, a colleague to somebody in the office, right? He's going to be a neighbor to somebody that has been that wired. There is no way. And then when you have such people, at a higher percentage in society, then you can begin to explain, where we are. I think it was former President Babangida who said something. He listed that every time he listened to one governor, I read that somewhere. He said every time he listens to one governor, that his heart breaks. His heart, because that governor is like that, because of the kind of both cultural, social kind of education that he has been passed through. So I don't know if we made this point last week, but you see, education, classroom education is just a little bit of what education is. Education is holistic, right? It's holistic. For us to have well-rounded citizens and be able to have well-rounded polity, there has to be something we are doing intentionally to produce that. It won't just happen. You don't just have good children. You must have created an environment where you teach them, values, morals, character, right and wrong, decision, choices, and consequences, and all those kind of things. Because if you know where the world has gone to, I was watching a program on CNN, was it maybe in the course of the week, there's a particular program I like on CNN, Make, Create, and Innovate. It talks about where the world is going in terms of technology. You begin to look at where air travel is going. It hasn't even hit the street yet. It's still on paper. But they're already, experimenting with it. That the same plane that you can travel from New York to Australia in maybe 3 hours. That same plane, can take you to space. That's where people are already thinking that way. That's why maybe I concluded last week that maybe the philosophy is deliberate, it's actually directed at weakening the citizenry. Because a society where we still have issues with food, you can't be educated. You cannot be educated. You would naturally produce citizens who are weak. So I don't want to over-answer this question. I always try to avoid that,
But Dr. Regia, hearing you speak, I'm trying as much as possible to reflect back, on my university days. And I'll really say that I didn't go to school, or I wasn't in university then, because I was looking at it from this perspective.
Yeah.
I actually was there because I needed a job. That's the right thing to think about at that time.
You go to school for the purpose of getting a job.
Exactly. So I wasn't really aware of these other forms, of these other educational systems, within my environment.
Yeah.
Because when I later got to find out, when you get out of the university, they ask you, what's your discipline? And I was wondering, why you ask me what's my discipline?
Exactly.
And I got to find out that they're trying to find out your discipline then means, you've been trained.
What have you been groomed in?
Groomed in.
Yeah.
It talks more about your character, your behavioral pattern and all that.
Absolutely, you got it.
Now, those things were not on my mind, right? So how can we now raise this awareness that, being in, the university, it's meant to achieve something other than just having a paper?
It starts on a program such as this, for us to drop this word out there, that education really has little, very, very little, something teeny-weeny to do with what you do in the classroom, and other forms of developing discipline using your word, should now be encouraged. Right? It should now be encouraged. And it's like, if you go to school and if the purpose of going to school is for you to get a job, then you want to get through that school by any means. That's why we have, high incidence of exam malpractices. But you see, you can't go learn auto engineering, what we call mechanic, and say you want to cheat your way. You can cheat your way, but you might only have the opportunity of, one customer who will bring his car, and then you destroy the car, and then the news goes everywhere, and then you're out of job. You're failed. But you see, if it is just this paper qualification, you can easily hide in some places. You can easily hide. That's why, for instance, you see a high level of mediocrity in the civil service, even now in some corporate, in some banks. You talk to some bankers, there's nothing in their heads. I'm very sorry to say. Exactly. Even senators, members of, honorable member, distinguished senator, you see the quality. Human quality has fallen. And that's not to anybody to think that global. It is global. Human quality has fallen because now what's supposed to make us better is making us worse because of the, the click and the push button kind of culture. So people don't really, the desire to explore, to be able to probe, to be able to inquire. People don't know how to, engage in meaningful discussions again. You see people write compositions with all manner of abbreviations and things like that. So it's so terrible. It's so terrible. And the question you ask is, how do we begin? And like I said, we have to first of all know that there is a problem. We have to first of all know, because I told somebody, I said, if I have a company, I don't think I can employ anybody, from maybe year 2000. Without proper, that means now my cost of service delivery is going to be high, because I have to now set up another school to now retrain. In fact, the Human Development Index here says that over 70%, I'm trying to be generous, of Nigerian graduates are unemployable. In fact, I used to say that the way I learned to do interviews the time I work in the bank, interacting with some of them, I don't think they can pass my interview. I don't think they can pass my interview. So it's really very, very, it's a sort of concern, but it begins with the individual, that my environment is trying to make me, in a particular way. What do I do? Because there are tons of information out there for anyone who wants, to really develop, themselves. Where is the reading culture? I learned reading, bedtime stories that my dad would give me. I learned, before I even know how to crank the engine of a car, I have known all highway codes. Yeah. I know when you have a white line on the road and it's a continuous straight line, you don't overtake in that place. You only overtake when those lines are broken, So those are basic things that's education. Because it's so dangerous. Somebody who doesn't know that, it was my landlord who told me about driving. Because that's where you know that if the whole environment is structured to educate, you are constantly being educated. My landlord would tell me something, that when you drive on the road, believe that you are the only sane person and every other driver is mad. You know, everywhere you go, you keep receiving instructions. You receive instructions. So you are constantly being educated. You know, so, but we're losing that. We're really losing that. There are people there who are willing to educate, who are willing to instruct, but there's very few people who want to, who really want to receive the instructions. So that's the issue. I believe where we can start is individuals listening to this program, they can say, where society is really spinning out of control, is losing value. But I want to begin to add value to society. I want to begin to pursue, some sort of scholarship, maybe on a personal level.
All right. Let's hold our thought there and go for a short break. We'll be back.
There are cooking oils and there are cooking oils, Of course, there are those that foam like soap when you put them on fire, and there are those that go to sleep after a few days. There are even those with funny odors that make neighbors wonder what's happening in your kitchen.
I beg, don't kill me, oh.
But then again, there is Grand Pure Soya Oil, made from pure soya seed. Grand Pure Soya Oil is cholesterol-free, which makes it ideal for the heart and health conscious. It neither foams nor fumes, neither does it congeal even at low temperature. Grand Pure Soya Oil is also endorsed by the Nigerian Heart Foundation as heart-friendly oil.
Let me go and get my own Grand Pure Soya Oil, Joe. Oil that doesn't smell or sleep.
Grand Pure Soya Oil, a heart-friendly oil you've always known.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this has been Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. Chat us up on 081 44 56 9000. That's 081 44 56 9000. Or send us an email on answerswithdrreju@gmail.com. Please also head to our Facebook page if you're on Facebook, on facebook.com/answers with Dr. Reju. Thank you. Isaac.
Well, Dr. Reju, I think we left here last week on a reflective mode. But for me, I was really, really pained. Especially when you made that statement that, how are we sure that the educational system given to us was not intentional, as to weaken the society, weaken the citizen? And it's really, really painful. And I would like my question to go this way. That for those who have praised educational setups, particularly either the government or our parents, what then should they be looking out for?
You mentioned parents because I'm an educational, entrepreneur. So, and I have the opportunity always to talk, to parents sometimes. I believe on a general level, parents have bought into a very wrong narrative, and they're not really looking for education. Because parents, in the real sense of it, shouldn't be looking for education. They should be looking for an institution who will continue what they started. So first of all, what I see in the society is parents choose education institutions based on status. That's a wrong premise. Some choose it because of how much, right? Some, they sort of look at it, okay, their own personal convenience. I don't want to do school runs because I won't have the time. So those are wrong premises upon which to actually look at, where I want to send. You need to first of all ask yourself, what kind of seed have I planted in this child? Which institution out there, right, can actually, because I happened to live in Lagos at a particular time, and there was this old man around Oyingbo area in Lagos who is an auto engineer. He's he repairs cars. And he repairs cars, and all his sons work with him. All of them. All of them are auto engineers. And these guys, they've all been to the university. About 5 or 6 of them. In fact, when you go there, you have like an account officer who knows your car. If you drive into that place, if the guy who is your man is not around, they have to go and check the log. This man, and you'll be amazed, he didn't go to school in that sense, in the way we look at school. But he has seen it that majority of the kids, they went to school to study things like engineering, and they left school. Many of them do their youth service in that mechanical workshop. Yeah. In fact, he now sits in a little cubicle there. The only thing he looks at is carburetor, and his only one brand is Honda. Only one brand. You see, that's a father who understands what education is. Now, I can imagine where those boys, because the man, even at this time I was talking to you, that I was talking about, has been very old. I can imagine maybe the guy is late now. I can imagine where the boys will have taken that thing. Maybe the place would now have been so IT, they will have taken it beyond that man's wildest imagination. So it's first of all, what we need to correct straight away is that education just continues in a classroom. Parents must look at who can continue what I started, right? Who can continue it? So it's there's some things I said off air. There are some things a child will never learn in a classroom. A child will never be able to communicate properly, in a lingua franca English in a classroom. In fact, when you even have a lot of teachers who can even, speak, they can't even communicate well. I'm not even talking about, I'm talking about communication. They can't even do that well. There are certain stages of life where you must have learned some things. People argue with me when I say this. If you don't learn driving at 17, 18, 16, 17, 18, you can never be a good driver. It's impossible. You can never be a good driver. Argue with me all you want. Because there's a way you're already a danger to yourself, the way you handle the steering. The way you hold it. You're already a danger to yourself and danger to everybody on the road. So it's, we need to widen our horizon, And I don't want us to start talking from government standpoint. The citizen, where do we start educating from? I was talking to my niece, I think it was, yesterday. I was talking about the son that is now age 7. That's the age of wisdom. I said, you're right. You're right, but from the tone, you are under pressure. I say age of wisdom is 7, but give room. Make it like a season. It's between 7 and maybe 10 or 11. Because for David, it might not be 7 on the dot. Right? So you can't just use 7 and say he must know this much. Then you will pressure that guy. What you need to be, it has to be like everything this child does, he must be able to see that he's the one in charge. Meanwhile, he's not. That's how to educate. Teach this child about decisions and consequences. That's when you begin to, before you go into right and wrong choices. He will not be able to see that wrong choices has wrong consequences, right choices has right consequences. So it's something that we have to be so intentional. You see, I have related with most of my American friends didn't go to school. Most of them. They didn't go to school the way we look at it. Maybe somebody just learn a trade. But these guys, they are so aware, right, of the environment. They are so aware. Hardly will you pick any topic that they cannot, the level of thinking. And that's one thing I want us to talk about on this program. The practice, the culture of critical thinking. Even in a primary school that I went to in a village, in the 60s and the 70s, it's an issue when a teacher finished teaching and there are no questions. It's because the pupils, the students are not thinking. Right? The telephone, the microphone that we're using and everything there is because somebody engaged in some critical thinking. We need to be able to analyze concepts. You listen to journalists ask questions. Thank God there are some very good ones out there. But some journalists ask questions and it's flat. I remember, the current coach of the Super Eagles now, listen. One journalist asked him a question at a time. He couldn't. He said, "That's a very stupid question." The guy said, "That's a very stupid question." So it's a very For me, it's a very serious issue because we have a very flat society, very flat thinking kind of people. It starts from now you want to ask, where does your child go to school? You want to be able to mention one elitist school, and that lifts you up. You are not really lifted up, you are just standing on somebody else. It doesn't add anything. Do you know the philosophy of that school? Do you know who they are trying to produce? Have you had a discussion with the principal, right? Have you had a discussion with the ones who promoted the school, who founded the school, to know what exactly are you about here? So that's the way I want to look at it. It starts, don't let us go to government. Let's look at ourselves. When we have the opportunity of relating with a 4-5-year-old, remember on this program at the time, we spoke about the 4-14 window, where if you don't learn some things at that time, you can never learn it. Many homes lose that because they are waiting for in fact, they can't wait for the child to go to school because the child is disturbing them.
All right, everyone. This has been Answers with Dr. Reggie. And we have been trying to clarify critical issues in education.
That's right.
And we have been educated. And I hope you have been too. We'll be here same time next week, 5 o'clock. Please set your alarm for 5 p.m. on Friday and tell your friend to do that too. In the meantime, please send us a WhatsApp on 081 44 56 9000. Or get to our website, answerswithdrreggie.com, where you can listen to previous episodes of our program and interact with us either on WhatsApp or Facebook, Answers with Dr. Reggie, or send us an email, answerswithdrreggie@gmail.com. Till next Friday, have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.